Do you have hungry cows to feed in Minecraft Bedrock? Let's build a semi-automatic wheat farm that's great for early game Bedrock Edition. The wheat and the seeds are collected in the chest at the bottom of the screen. Here is a quick overview of what the unit looks like. This is the end result of our build. You notice the water is being held back by the pistons. The switch doesn't have to be located here. It could actually be closer, which would save some redstone as a resource as well. But simply flip the switch, the water flows, it knocks the wheat off, and it is all collected down into a hopper and chest below. To reset it, just simply flip the switch again. Here's an overview of the area that will need to be excavated. The checkerboard is just to help to distinguish so you get a better idea of what needs to be dug. Here's a side view so that you can see the depths that are needed. Here are the items you'll need to build a simple farm. You'll also need a water source, such as the one you see here next to this chest. Why is this farm so great for early game? Well, it doesn't require a trip to the Nether for quartz to build an observer. Of course, an observer could be added later. Why didn't I use trapdoors? Well, unfortunately in Bedrock, trapdoors don't work very well with water like they do in Java. Why use pistons and not dispensers? Well, simply put, pistons need only one block or ingot of iron to make them, where buckets, well, they're going to require 3, and you're going to need a lot of buckets of water for this. So less resources are needed. So let's get started. We'll start with the collection system by laying some chests like that. Make sure you crouch when you place the hopper in as well. Okay, and we can test this just to see if it works. Look at that, just what we need. Note, there is 1 block difference between the top of the hopper and the actual ground that we plant the veggies on. Now at this point, let's go ahead. We're going to add in our glass block here, right above here. And the reason we use a glass block there is it allows us to actually open that chest as opposed to using a solid block. So if you notice here, if I come here, I should be able to click on it. Well, we'll try that again another time. We'll fill that in. Next, we're going to come up here, go to this far corner. So we're at the corner opposite of the hopper, and we're going to take our bucket of water and place it down. So now we have our collection system built. Next, we're going to go and work on our irrigation. To complete the irrigation, we need to have water supplies underneath here. So we're going to drop a bucket there. After retrieving another bucket, we'll drop one right here as well. And then we'll complete the same over on this side as well. We have the irrigation on both sides. We'll go ahead and block it in because there's no reason to look at it anymore. We'll just use dirt blocks for this. Because there's really no reason, we don't want the seeds to fly, seeds or vegetables to drip down into those areas and get trapped. And even though they're covered up, it'll allow for usage and irrigation, just like we want. So now that the irrigation is in place, as well as the collection system, we're going to go ahead and build the harvesting system. I'm using here smooth stones, but the reason I'm doing that is just simply because that way you can actually count the blocks as they come across. Okay, the pistons are going to go right along here. We need to have one area for water, so we'll just go through here. So this is the basic structure for the harvesting equipment that you see here. I did dig a small trench down here in front, which will allow me to install the pistons in the correct orientation, and then it'll be filled back in. Just hop down in here, crouch down, and as you can see, it's not always the easiest to get these to install correctly. So there we have, the pistons are all in place. with her pistons pointing down, we're going to fill in this trench here and then start adding some redstone. Put one more block up there so I can walk across here. Now for the switch, you can put it on any one of these blocks that are connected. For example, right here, we'll just throw the switch. And then we throw the switch. Now what that does is it allows the pistons to work to cut off the water flow. So the next thing is I'm going to put the pistons down, collect some water, and then we'll go from there. So I've added 3 buckets of water here, and now because of that I can pull out of that center source block and add across and don't have to continue to make trips. And the idea is to get the water so that it's sitting smooth like this so that you know it's not running. Now with this in mind, let's go try out our system. Flip the switch, pistons open, water flows down, it'll carry everything down to the collection there, such as that. So how does all of this work? Well, the water that we placed on the side is for irrigation, and it actually irrigates up to 4 blocks away. This being 8 blocks wide, that solves the irrigation problem. The pistons and the water that's flowing down, well, as we've seen before, that's for harvesting. And then it runs everything down to this trench that's back behind me, which then is picked up by that hopper and that collector as well. So all of the goods that we want to farm end up in this chest over here. So now all that is left is to go ahead, hoe the surface, get it ready for planting and cultivation, and then plant. If you want to increase the speed of this, if you have bone meal, you can do so and it'll give you a nice harvest even sooner. If you don't like the pistons on top, an alternative is to bury the pistons underneath the ground, such as you see behind me. I think you might like this video over here, but let's take a further look at this alternative method. Here's a closer look at that alternative system. The switch powers the redstone, which then in turn powers the pistons, and the sand travels up and down. Because sand is affected by gravel, it will not only go up, but it will also go down as well, and thereby control the flow of water into our farm.